dead-end street by Slobodan Radojev. Mitrich, orders from higher up. Introduction by the publisher Robert Jan Kelder ***** orders from higher up. Introduction by the publisher. This book, dedicated to Theo van Gogh, is described by the writer as a literary crime report, based as it is on personal observations and secretly recorded conversations and filmed scenes with directly or indirectly involved figures. It is, like his earlier books such as The Golden Tip, The Entanglement of the Upper and Underworld, and The Murder of G.J. Hine, Help! They've Kidnapped Me, Lady Di, and 911. The accusation, bringing the guilty to justice, in no way conspiracy theory, but conspiracy practice. Accordingly, the author, as a former top counterintelligence agent, emphasizes that he can prove everything brought forward in this new true crime. The most remarkable, if not shocking and lugubrious events of his report are: 1. A few days before Mohammed Bouyeri, the chosen one, on the morning of November 2nd, 2004, shot down Theo van Gogh at the Linnou Street opposite the district office of Amsterdam East, then cut his throat and pinned a letter on his chest with a knife. He was as the Prince of Death, donned in a long white Arab garb, honored in public on the flower-covered Java Street nearby in Amsterdam East in the presence of his imam, bodyguards and hundreds of spectators, including even officials of the police and the Secret Service. The writer actually witnessed this public ritual himself, perchance, and has described in the chapter, Homage to the Prince of Death, 2. As the final chapter reveals, this liquidation of Theo van Gogh was not, as is maintained, the sole action of an Islamic fundamentalist, but a covert operation prepared, carried out with military precision and subsequently perfectly covered up, at least until now, by the Dutch Secret Service and their infiltrators in the national press and media. 3. This operation had probably not been necessary if Theo had only listened and complied with 2 urgent requests and warnings from the director of the AIVD, Dutch Secret Service, to remove the article, Shadow Commando of the Prince, from his website. The Healthy Smoker. This article by Jan Kelder, as well as a supplement to it under the title, Lubbers and Muslim Bomb, in which the writer Karate Bob, in his at the time secret function as director of World Atomic Counter-Espionage (WACE), plays the central role in a secret multi-million plutonium transaction, were, according to the Dutch Secret Service, AIVD, a threat to national security and the Queen. The literary representation of the 2 conversations between Theo van Gogh as a member of the Secret Service and the head of the AIVD in Café Cinetoon on the Duivendrecht-Seccade in Café Danzig in the center of Amsterdam can be read in the chapters, Shadow Commando of the Prince, and DNA. The 2 relevant articles that Theo refused to remove from his website are found in the appendices, which includes legal documents related to the threatening, illegal and inhumane eviction of the ailing writer by the Dutch state to the former Yugoslavia, a letter from the then Premier Lubbers to Slobodan Mitrich, testimony by Professor Ruter, a former president of Amnesty International, about the credibility of Slobodan Mitrich, plus a comprehensive CV and an overview of his work with his wife Iris de Vries as a writer, artist and filmmaker. 4. The then Mayor of Amsterdam, Job Cohen, the Minister of Immigration and Naturalization Verdonk, the Chief of the Amsterdam Police and the Chief Justice were not only aware of this state liquidation, but allowed the police, who followed the preparations closely, to let the murderer and his team go about their business undisturbed. Orders from higher up. The Amsterdam village idiot, who had publicly called his pig Allah on television and who had made the film, Submission, with Hershey Ali, had to be sacrificed to abate the fury of the Islamic community at home and abroad in order to prevent worse. This is related in the chapter, Jewish Bacon Cunt, based on a conversation secretly recorded at the mayor's residence in Amsterdam by the Dutch Secret Service. The chapter, Submission, with which this book after the prologue, on Java Street Something is Going On, starts, and the chapter, Fox, also present a somewhat different perspective on how this film actually came about. While from the chapter, DNA, and the conversation at Café Danzig between Theo and the AIVD, it turns out that the former had doubts about the true identity of Hershey and ordered an investigation to determine whether the preparations for the murder were an insider's case of easterism. 5. Part of the preparations for the murder of Theo Van Gogh was that the chosen one was taught the art of throat cutting by an imam and a colleague under the watchful eye of two big bodyguards. First through the use of a goat as described in the chapter entitled Islamic Butchery, and then even on a Ukrainian man, as described in the chapter, body wrapped in a carpet, illustrated with a color picture of the crime scene in Amsterdam East. That as well was closely followed by the police, who could have prevented it, but who were told not to intervene, orders from higher up. The book ends with a brief history and presentation of the objectives of the publisher. The Wilhelm Institute Press Foundation, established in 2005 Amsterdam and named after Wilhelm, the 9th century founder of the original House of Orange in southern France, a paladin of Charlemagne, who in 1066 was declared patron saint of the knights, especially for his part as the supreme commander of the Carolingian army in the Spanish march in repulsing the march of Islamization at the time in Europe. Copies of this intriguing book with sparkling dialogues, proofreader Ton Major of the Dutch edition, were submitted on February 16 to the national daily newspaper TROUW in Amsterdam for its police and justice editor Adrie Vermaat, as yet no reaction, and Slobodan Mitrich's lawyer Henry Saralia. The next day, copies were presented to the Queen, personally delivered to her guards stationed at the gate of her palace Noordend in The Hague, and to Geert Wilders, via the mailroom at the Parliament buildings. For him the preface by the publisher entitled, Can the Current Rise of Islamization Still Be Counted?, might be of special interest and possibly even a welcome opportunity to raise question in the Dutch House of Parliament to the reigning government. No reaction as yet. Also, that day, 3 copies were personally presented by the publisher to the parents of Theo Van Gogh in their hometown of Wassenaar, who received them with an interest. To them, Slobodan Mitrich dedicated the following words, used here as a back flap: I cannot bring your son back alive, but what I can give you is the truth how and why he was murdered, which you can read in this book. I hope that having read it, you will not allow this cover-up to continue. This is also the message to his readers on the back flap of his book, For Each Murder, no matter whom it concerns, it is necessary to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, as well as to write the truth about it, whether one likes it or not. It is up to you, dear reader, to either support or reject this novel. But if we remain silent, the murder machine of the dark forces will continue their killing without any further hindrance. Yesterday Theo, tomorrow one of us. Nobody has the right to kill, irrespective of whether a person really deserves to die under the law of a state or a religious community. Especially in the so-called free democratic world it claims to follow the path of freedom and justice. Let us help bring all those responsible for the murder of Theo Van Gogh to justice. *****.